When I was young, I was diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder with obsessive compulsive features. In preschool in particular, it was staying in the classroom. I would just leave and run everywhere. I was super impulsive and I couldn't really be controlled. And preschools would kind of just throw me away as I was kicked out of them. And by elementary school, it kind of manifested more with really socially inappropriate behavior. I always placed in the spelling bee. I read at a higher level than any of my peers. But I do think it would have been really easy for a teacher to dismiss that type of behavior and to say, oh, you know, she's just being a pain, she doesn't really care. I had a really great teacher my first and second grade years. She really stood up for me and kind of, basically put her job on the line because she stood up with my parents before the school board and insisted on my need for services. I have very fond memories of her. She was always great towards me and made me feel very special and important. I had just general therapy, and then I had kind of like a behavior therapy. I had all these therapies that benefited me. I've had so many people work with me, but none of it could have had any effect without the medication. Like, the medication kind of paved the way for those to be able to work. The initial turnaround, I would say, was sometime around early middle school. And I honestly think that that had a lot to do with me joining the band. I had the IEP plan, but I wasn't really using it anymore. I didn't really need the services. So I think just having kind of that structure and something to practice and something to work for maybe just calmed me down. And I've always really liked music and found it relaxing, so that probably helped. In my junior year of high school, we finally found a medication that worked for me. The improvements in my test scores and my grades were, incredible. The fact that my parents believed that I was capable of doing better made me believe I was capable of doing better, because it's really easy to fall into this cycle of, well, I can't do better. I've never done better. I'm just not good at Spanish. I'm just not good at math. As of right now, I've recently graduated from Lawrence University with a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology and a Bachelor of Music in Clarinet Performance. I graduated with honors, and I'm now working at with a group that works with people with disabilities in group homes and applying to graduate schools. Mental illness does run in my family somewhat, so it's always just something I've been comfortable talking about and joking about. I've seen how hearing other people talk about it has inspired them to be more open about their own mental health issues and talk about it. And that's important for people actually reaching out and getting help. Because when people feel alone and isolated, they're not going to know what to do, and they're just going to stay stuck that way. It's really sad to me when I see people and they could be doing so much better and school could be so much easier for them, and it's just not, because of the stigma, because they won't see anyone about it, because they think that they're lazy or they're not good enough, and that's what the problem is. And it's stuff like that, that's why I talk about it. I sincerely believe that recovery is a process, and like any process, there are going to be ups and there are going to be downs. I was talking about my ADHD long before I suffered setbacks last year. And as soon as I did, I went right back to counseling, and I went right to my psychiatrist and asked for the dosage increase, because I'm not in denial. I'm not superhuman, and I'm definitely no poster child, so I'm not infallible. There's no reason that wouldn't happen, and I didn't want to live like that. That wasn't something I was willing to settle for. But I think for me it is very important that I do see recovery as a process. You don't just hit this like peak and all of a sudden you're recovered forever and everything's happy.